I have to confess a fascination, a long-term fascination with everything to do with Virgin Atlantic and Richard Branson. When I was a kid in the 70s, before Richard had Tower Records in a place called 62nd Precinct in Kensington, he was working selling his records and I was selling ladies' shoes next door. And ever since then, I've taken probably an unhealthy interest in all things Branson and all things Virgin. So it's always been received wisdom that Virgin Atlantic services from Gatwick are the kind of second rate compared to Heathrow. So I had a chance for the first time in a while to take a journey in Virgin upper class between London Gatwick and Orlando in Florida. It's a destination they don't serve from Heathrow, so I was kind of forced to use Gatwick, and it's a great opportunity to see just how far things have come on and whether the service from Gatwick is as bad as everyone imagines it is. So first impressions are pretty good. There's premium handling, and there was no one really there in front of me in the line over at the customs going into Gatwick, so the premium was pretty quick. There's actually a new clubhouse that's opened up in Gatwick quite recently, which is like it's a pale imitation of the clubhouse in Heathrow, but it's still probably better than a lot of the other lounges. Services sit down, just like London. There isn't a deli counter like the one in London, but you can order off the menu, and the menu is pretty much the same, I think, as the one in the London clubhouse. I had the breakfast burger and the fresh fruit, a cappuccino. I did order a long white, but they didn't know what that was, so we settled on the cappuccino in the end. So service took about 10-15 minutes, which was a little bit longer than I thought, and then the most interesting part of the journey is yet to come. A 747. 747s are pretty rare things these days. All the airlines are getting rid of their 747s and landing them in the desert to sell for scrap. They use too much fuel, the costs are too high, but for a passenger, the 747's always been like the Rolls-Royce of planes, and the opportunity to travel by 747 on Virgin, maybe one last time, was too much of an attraction to refuse, really, particularly to get to sit in upper class in the nose cone of the 747. There's only, I think, 16 or so seats in the upper class cabin of the Gatwick 747s, so quite a small upper class, but quite a big premium economy cabin on that plane. So let's take a look at the freebies. There's all the usual bits and pieces, and you've got moisturiser and lip balm and kind of all these kind of nice little bits. I didn't particularly like the holder that they come in. I think it's not one that I'll be able to use for very much else after the flight, and may not even bother to take it home. Whereas some of the other ones that have more of a dual use, I actually use for carrying cables and microphones and bits and pieces. So this one with the little netting, probably not a great deal of use after the flight. So Virgin are pretty good about other things like earplugs and eye masks, toothbrush, pen. You don't, strictly speaking, need a pen on the way to America anymore, since they put in all the new Ester stuff, so you don't really, although they give you the blue card like they always used to, they don't actually use it at the other end because they have all the Ester machines. Not quite sure why they still give the blue customs card, as it seems to be now totally redundant. But nevertheless, quite a nice little bundle of goodies and something to play with while people are getting onto the plane. Nice glass of champagne. Take a look and look around the cabin. Do some people watching. The cabin is old style Virgin upper class. I've been on upper class a number of times. It's the prior to the new style, which is on board the Dreamliners and stuff like that. So takeoff in a 747, always exciting. It seems to go so slowly and then rise so majestically into the air. I think the 747, maybe along with things like the TriStar or the DC-10 and stuff like that, my favourite planes to travel in. But they seem to be hell-bent on replacing all my favourite large planes with smaller, nastier planes. And for example, the 767 is a nasty plane to travel in business class because there's almost no room on one of those. The Dreamliner is the nastiest plane on Virgin to travel in economy. If you've read any of the reviews on that, you'll just know how appalling that is. They've tried to cram one too many seats across in economy, but in premium economy or upper class, it's perfectly okay. So we're in the air and on the way to Orlando. It's a flight of about 9 hours or so, although this one is scheduled to come in a little bit early, and onto the in-flight service. So plenty of space in upper class in the cabin. In fact, more space around that little upper class cabin on a 747 to enjoy, and the bar is a little bit more accessible as well compared to the Dreamliner and the some of their other planes. They've upgraded their old-fashioned plug system for USB. You can see the upgrade components being fitted. They give you headphones, a nice choice of 5 mojitos, and then I find that you can hang an iPad off of the entertainment system really well on one of these planes, and I prefer knowing exactly what I have to watch and just going through podcasts and kind of TV series and all this kind of stuff. So, time for a nice lunch. So there's a choice of rolls. The bread's nice and warm. There was a choice of starters, except that my starter choice was already taken. There was a choice of main courses, and I chose salmon. Unfortunately, the salmon was already taken, so not really a very good start. There was a dessert as well, but I gave up on the dessert due to calories and chose the cheese instead, which probably has twice as many calories. So one thing they do well is the after-dinner snack basket always has some really nice quality chocolate in, and I always aim straight for the Virgin chocolate. So organic dark chocolate, I pinched 2 of those out the basket, and that was nice to settle down. Watched a movie. One of the things on Virgin Upper Class is they've got these crazy seats that only go back so far unless you want to convert them into a bed, and then the whole thing lifts forward and gets converted into a bed. Time for a nice cup of tea and some sandwiches and scones pre-landing. They used to serve these on a little kind of multi-level kind of thingy, like plates with suspended one on top of each other, and they seem to have cheapened that, and they've now got 2 little plates, and you can have a choice of cakes if you want as well. I gave up the cake choice because of calories, but I did choose the clotted cream strawberry jam and the sandwiches. So with the movie watching, the eating, the sleeping, the relaxing, the champagne and everything almost done, it's almost the end of this flight and time to take a few nice cloud scenes and some pictures as we land. And it's been a very enjoyable flight, and I think it's certainly proved that flying from Gatwick, you're not really giving up anything very much over flying from Heathrow. I happen to live in the right part of London for Heathrow, so I'd normally choose to fly from Heathrow. But if you have to fly from Gatwick, Virgin have made it quite a nice place to fly from, and I think a lot of their more holiday type flights fly from Gatwick. And I noticed that as well as having the clubhouse at Gatwick, they have a special lounge for V-Flyer holiday makers as well that maybe aren't flying upper class, so it's worth looking out for lounge access. If you are flying from Gatwick on Virgin, it's worth asking them about upgrades, because I reckon sometimes they have slightly cheaper than average upgrades available to Virgin holiday makers. And certainly the reason I picked upper class on this flight was because it was actually £300 or £400 cheaper flying one way in upper class and the other way in premium economy, compared to flying from Heathrow in premium economy with a connection both ways. So happy flight, very enjoyable. Hope you enjoyed the travel log and the trip report. Nice landing, very smooth, very majestic, and something which is probably not something in a Virgin 747 you'll be able to do for that much longer. The plane I was flying on out today, Ladybird, has had 20 years of service and was introduced in '97. So I expect she'll be on her way out fairly soon. So hi from me, Numistaka in North Florida, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe and comment.